Good morning. Isn't this a nice surprise? Lovely to see you all this morning. I hope you're all having a wonderful weekend. Football results accepting, of course. Obviously, Levi is in. He's had a pretty rough time with PSV yesterday. The Pie guy is in. He's had a pretty rough time with Notts County. As a Villa fan, it's not been particularly good for me either. Oh my word!
Tell me, how do you measure somebody that could balance a balloon in a wind tunnel on a needle?
Thank you very much, Great Nobo, for the resubscription. That's 2 months from Great Nobo, you absolute gentleman. And what a way to start things off. Let's say hello properly. So obviously, Levi is in. We have the Pie guy in as well. We have Lettery is in. Lettery is in over on YouTube. Lovely to see you, my dude. Not to be confused with Lestry. It will get confusing, I'm sure, if Lestry ends up popping by at some point. We have RJ in. He has said it's a bit of an early start. It is a bit of an early start. Neutral Normie is here today as well. We've got Hung De Min. We've got a bit of Johnny Trotter. Renis is in. Renis89, thank you very much for the follow. And Bel Procioni and Senkel FM all coming in with follows early this morning. Lovely, lovely to see you guys. Who else do we have? We have El Norby in. We have Vangelis in. We have Knight of Knee in as well. We have Nick Rurker in. And Jonsa. And Brewerman. And Jim Papas. Lots of people up on it early on a Sunday morning. I thought it'd just be nice to do something a little different here this morning. I didn't expect so many people about. I thought everyone would be enjoying their chilled Sunday away from the distractions of Football Manager and all the frustrations that can come with it at times. But yeah, so what we've got in store today? Today we're going to be doing something a little different. We're going to be doing some what I'm calling mini Moneyball, and this is going to feed into the videos that those who saw the start screen a little bit earlier. We're going to have a couple of videos coming out a week now for the next few weeks at least, where we look at teams in a slightly, not necessarily less detailed, but a more abridged fashion. So we're not going to be doing simulations of the seasons, but we're going to analyse the players. We're going to look at what might be a good tactical fit for them, identify their transfer needs as well, and going through it league by league. So something hopefully a little bit different, but could be quite fun as well. So let's catch up with chat a little bit. So obviously I've seen Knight of Nears and he said good morning Knee. Light coming in through the window, says Johnny Trotter. Indeed, it's a scary thing, isn't it? Jack Romeo, by the way, hello, good morning to you as well. Red App has said, finally a win for Sporting. What was the result then? Yes, I take that was last night. Is that the first win since Amram's left? That would be a nice way to get back on the board. So Brewerman says good morning. Jim Papa says good morning from Drizzly Athens. Oh, you don't associate Greece with rain, do you, normally? So I imagine that's a little bit of a bitter start to the day. So on Norby, in the Premier League, I'm a Manchester United supporter. Oh, so what's your fondness for the Man United? Is it a historical thing from when they're good, or is there something else that has drawn you to them? Christmas presents videos, says RJ. You could look at it that way. So Peter Peltolo is in over on YouTube as well. Perfect stream as I have to work a little bit, but with my eyes fixed on the stream. Marvellous. Well, there'll be lots of where you don't need to pay attention. In fact, certainly during this period where you're stuck with my face, you definitely don't want to have your eyes on the stream. But we'll get to showing some FM in a second, which will be probably a little bit nicer. Yoin coming is in. Good morning, Yoin. So is Kazwares. Lovely to see you all. Hey, Cab is here. Good morning. What an unholy hour this is. It is an unholy hour. I woke up at about 1 a.m. this morning after Aston Villa lost, and I was meant to be recording some Match of the Delay stuff last night, but I got stood up. I got ghosted. So at 9 o'clock, I was a little bit miffed. It had been a pretty rotten day, so I went to bed early and got up absurdly early this morning. So Bel Procioni says, hi Mr. Musterman, how's it going? I'm following you on YouTube and I love your series. Can I ask you for a problem I have on FM? You're more than welcome to ask. If I can answer, I will. Obviously, if it's something that requires a little bit of research, might be something I'll have to answer after the stream. But yeah, shoot away. So yes, it is 5 games, 4 losses for Sporting so far. That's not a good start. But But maybe now the corner has been turned. It's a hat-trick for my boy Jimenez at Feyenoord yesterday. Good mood today. Understandable. Isn't he such a good player? Do you think you can keep hold of him after this year? Surely after two seasons of really good form, he's got to be on the radar of some slightly bigger teams. Not to say that you're not a big team, but you know what I mean. Right up, and finally a 3-2 at home against the 16th. Okay, a win is a win, isn't it? Let's be fair. So Who and Go says it was a tough day for PSV yesterday indeed. Sensational substitution though, wasn't it? That was like, was it maybe 3 minutes after he came on, he scored the winner? So Otto Fabonio says, good morning, love the June poster in the background. It's not a poster. It is not a poster. It is the board game. The well, it was originally made by Avalon Hill, a board game from a long time ago that was reissued kind of recently. It is possibly the worst board game ever in existence for competitive balance. It is a very unfair game, and that's why I love it so much. So RJ, for the big question, none. I see a 2-2 draw in the derby. So yes, as you can see down there somewhere, there's a lovely little thing with various information about the stream and ways that other things that I do and stuff like that. And the big question today is who's going to win the Manchester derby. So Nemo Toad, morning Moneyball Mania. It is indeed. And on that note, let's just switch on over to what we've got here. When it decides it's going to load, there we go. There's a nice bit of thingy what's it here. So over the last few days, I've been running some more simulations. I love my simulations, don't I? And what we have going is I set everything up in real world mode. I put the transfer embargo mod on so that we could simulate through the Premier League 10 times to see how teams get on without any transfers whatsoever, exactly as last season panned out. So players who were bought in January arrive in January. Players who were sold in January are gone, but they will have played for the club before that point as well. We're going to use this information. We're going to be bouncing a little bit between football. We're going to be bouncing between lots of different save points. We're going to be bouncing between spreadsheets as well and a couple of little dashboards as we kind of try to find the most average representation of a team's season. We're going to look through, see what the performance data can tell us about that squad. And then we're going to go through and start to make suggestions off that. So we should hopefully get through quite a few teams today, hopefully. I've obviously been, as I said, this is going to be feeding into video, so I've already done a few teams myself already before this stream has happened. So I was going to do it in alphabetical order, but if there are specific teams you want to see, do let me know. The only teams we won't do is Arsenal, Aston Villa, Bournemouth and Brentford. As you can tell, I've been going through it alphabetically. Because that's the easiest way to do it without having to think particularly hard. But yeah, so I've still got to go through all the rest of the teams. So if there are teams that you specifically want us to look at, we can do that. So it's his redemption season after a lesser second season half. Hope he deserves a nice transfer. That's very gracious, Nick. So Hugh and Go. Yep, 3 minutes after coming in, he scored. Mistake by our defender. So Bell Poscioni, my FM24 colours changed. Like the tutorials are light blue and things written are white. The transfer deadline becomes all white, therefore it's unplayable. It's like the graphics got corrupted. I tried to disinstall and reinstall the game and remove all the extra contents I added. Faces, logos and your magnificent skin, but nothing seems to work. Thank you so much. Okay, so that seems... I'm guessing that if you say that the colours are all completely off, what I might suggest checking is just to see whether you've got something flicked in terms of the color blindness modes potentially. I can't remember exactly where it is. So in colorblind mode, you have various options for those who are colorblind. That will do some tweaks to colors that will change the interface completely. If not that, then you want to look at resetting your cache. So in here, you've got an option down preference at the bottom here where you can clear cache. It's always useful to do that every now and then when you've got a problem. I know you said that you've uninstalled and reinstalled, but always worth doing that every now and then. And then the last thing I would suggest is if you have done it if you download it via Steam, is to right click on the game in Steam and what's it called? Verify file integrity or something to that extent. So they're usually your first steps. If none of those things work, I recommend heading over to the Sports Interactive forum. You should be able to raise a support ticket as well, because that doesn't sound like it's what it should be doing. Normally they do take a couple of days to respond from my own previous experience, but hopefully that can help sort things out. Triple P is in. Good morning, Triple P. How are you today? So El Norby says, actually it's pretty funny. As a 9-year-old I played lots of FIFA 99 and I liked the jersey of the team. David Beckham was the most valuable player in the team, so he became my favourite player. That makes a lot of sense, to be fair. I think that's generally the way that I find myself having fondness for certain teams across the countries, different countries. It's why I like Dortmund back in the 90s when they had players like Heiko Herrlich. I'd be able to catch their highlights on like our terrestrial TV on a Saturday morning. It's why I have a fondness for Juventus, because they're a very good team back in the 90s again, when we had Football Italia was the name of the show that would be shown on a Sunday morning for us. So Rennie says, I have a feeling United will resurrect City today. Oh, that would be fun, wouldn't it? If the one thing that pushes them into the back onto form would be the derby. So I'm going to skip ahead because I do see that RJ redeemed a hydrate. Thank you very much. That's the real reason for the streams. I bought a 24 crate of Fanta and I only ever drink them on days when I've got streaming. So I've had it for like 3-4 weeks, this crate, and I need to get through the last few. Yes, so do I have only Connect guess the player prepared for this early stream? I do indeed. Because I wanted to stream last night and sadly that wasn't possible, I had everything prepared and ready to go. So if we want to play some mini games, we most definitely can. Helping Chelsea gets the Musterman treatment today. I am as well. Well, I mean, I know the result, obviously. But should be it's a good game for certain. That's for sure. I'm up against Brentford in tonight's match of the delay. The wonderful, the lovely McKinns. So El Nobi says, Giosgio won yesterday, so we'll be in 3rd place during the winter break. Amazing stuff. Absolutely fantastic stuff, that. How long is it? So has Giosgio won the league before? Or is this like potentially like going to be a record season for you? Let's head on. Where do I want to head over from here? I want to head to here first. So as we're catching up, I'll just get ourselves prepared a little bit. So El Giorgio FM, by the way, thank you very much for the follow. I hope you're doing well. There is no obligation whatsoever to chat, but if you want to chat, do let us know who you support, who you're playing with in FM at the moment. If you're playing FM, love to hear from you, but no pressure whatsoever. So Lestry, I turn on to see you as Brighton. I thought you were my friend. I'm sorry, Lestry. And Lestry is here, which means we have Lestry over on Twitch and we have Letry over on YouTube. This will definitely get confusing during the course of the day. So it is obviously, it's the big Brighton Crystal Palace derby today, isn't it? Crystal Palace famously in London, and Brighton famously not in London, with their most heated of rivalry that has ever existed. So now I'm Italian, I support Juventus, says Bel Poccioni. Trust me, we're going to lose soon. Fair enough. Hugh and Go would like to see Tottenham, and Reigns would like to see City, if that's okay. So beautiful. After Brighton, let me take note of that. We'll do Tottenham, we'll do City. That's marvellous things. Just say hi from France. Liked so much your videos, but first time on your stream. Lovely to see you in syrup. Bonjour, even. Unfortunately, that's the extent of my French. I do apologise. So yeah, that's lovely to have you in. I hope you enjoy it. So Johnny Trotter, daily streams for Christmas just to use up the Fanta. Exactly. Peter Piltola has a Moneyball save going with St. Pauli right now. Marvellous stuff. Gotta love a little bit of St. Pauli. Lestry, such a joke, isn't it? The M23 derby, which isn't a derby. Is there like some kind of historical reason for it? I honestly don't understand what it is, and I've never bothered to look into it in much detail, but it does seem quite a crazy derby going on. So Booman says, I'm also a United fan. My dad lived near the Munich air disaster side and always talked United and Bayern Munich. started to follow the club in the not so good Fergie years. So you've been following along in. Does that mean the early Fergie years, back before, when he almost got sacked and he just arrived from Aberdeen and the first couple of years were bad? Or do you mean the not so good Fergie years towards the end, where Chelsea and Man City started to get their money in? So João Suarez says, can't wait to see what the Musterman can do with United. Hopefully he does a better job than Ashworth. I feel sorry for Ashworth. I mean, what on earth has happened to be like, they waited for like 6 months just to hire him, and then they let him go in less time than that. Seems absolutely crazy. I do spy a Brazilian Fury is in. My word, how are you, Brazilian? Hello, Musterman indeed. Hello, Brazilian Fury. Guys, go give Brazilian Fury if you're not doing so already. I can't speak. You've got me tongue-tied, Brazilian. So lovely, wonderful creator, lovely chilled streams, great YouTube content as well. So Maxi Taxi 11 says, do I like retro databases? I do like retro databases. I've got the 95, 96 one running in my own spare time. I do prefer like proper retro though. So I still play Champs 98, 99 and 03, 04. They're like my wind down games, ones where I don't have to necessarily play quite as much attention as I'm playing. So Bell wants to know where chat are from. Indeed, let Bell know. We've got a nice international gathering here. So Casware says, currently doing a journeyman, started at Kapfenberg in the second league Bundesliga, got them promoted and finished fourth. Then got offered the job at Nuremberg, who I'm currently fighting for promotion with. Marvellous. Nuremberg have some cracking players as well. So Lestry has the answers here. Okay, no, basically in the 80s, one team said something to the other, and the other took offence, and it went from there. No idea which one it was who did it first. So Johnny is going to come in and add some more context as well. So Alan Mullery was the manager of Crystal Palace in the 80s and was winding up Brighton. Lots of teams after playing them. Rivalry grew from there. There we go. Brazilian says, don't ask me why I'm awake. If anything, I need to be more awake, lol. You do, Jesus Christ, yes, why are you awake? I know you've told me not to ask you, but man, sleep. That's crazy time. It's what? Must be about 4, 5? It's 10:50 here now, so actually, yeah, maybe about 5, 6. That is it. RJ, English hard. It is indeed. So we've got Dirk or What over in as YouTube as well, supporting Panathinaikos and Arsenal. The latter since Granit signed for them and haven't missed a game since. Fabulous. Rennis is a huge United fan, grew up with the 92 generation, so you'll never win anything with kids. Obviously, quite famously, Alan Hansen said that United won't win anything with kids. After Man United lost on the opening day of the season 3-1 to the mighty Aston Villa, and the greatest player of all time, like genuinely, the best football player that has ever played football, Ian Taylor, scored on that day. And there's no debate on that whatsoever. Lestry, that shows how much I care about the rivalry as a Palace fan. That's fair. So how is Anderlecht doing? That's a good question. How is Anderlecht doing, RJ? So they're third at the moment. Doing okay. Stroikens is injured for a month though. They're playing tonight away in St. Trons. We'll see. You've got to feel pretty confident about that one there. So Franconia in Germany is where Kokuk Smelch is from. Berman has been following since the infamous Terrar Fergie years. Fair enough. So Maxi Taxi is interested to do a Moneyball save. What is your most important tip for someone new to the game style? Take your time. There's no rush. Break everything down into chunks. So just think of it logically. What do I want the player to be doing? What do I want them to not be doing? What do other players in the teams do? How does that serve my tactic? And then just one player at a time, go through what things show what you're looking for there. So, Lestry, I'm off to bed though, lads. Nearly 10 p.m. here in the east coast of Australia. Tata all, and we'll catch up tomorrow. Good evening. Have a lovely, lovely evening sleep, my dude. So, Bel Porcioni has said, Hala Madrid to Rennes there. So it's almost 4, but I'm almost to the 60-minute mark of the editing. I'm not letting myself stop until then. I will get to sleep once I do, they promise. That's good to hear. That is good to hear indeed. El Norby, that Giuskio have never won the league. Our best result was a third place in 1979, won the Hungarian Cup in 1977 and 1980, and the now non-existing League Cup in 2014. There we go. How about that? So this could be a historic season. You're starting really, really well, and maybe do you think you could get into the top 2, maybe even win the league, or do you think that might just be a little bit too far for this season? So Nilsson is in. Hello, I'm just getting started with your skin. How do you get started with the charts and what to look for when you are buying players? Marvellous. We will cover that at some point during the course of this stream, El Nilsson. If I get that far, we might just look at this screen for the next couple of hours. Who knows? So hello, Jeff. I'm doing a Moneyball save with Watford. 80 million in debt. That's good to know. A safe pair of hands. A marvellous, marvellous place Watford is. It's not. I lived there for far too long. So, Season 1 champions. Marvellous. Season 2 relegation. Not so marvellous. Season 3 currently top of championship with 50 million in the bank and 67 in transfer budget. Well, my first thing I would say is please don't spend all 67 of that. Please don't. So RJ says away in St. Trond is always tough because it's a synthetic pitch. Interesting. Okay. So who and go? I'm a PSV fan. My mum is from Eindhoven and that side of my family almost all worked at Philips. Well, that will be the PSV link there. Philips. I do apologise. There is a past video of me calling Philips quite evil because of their part in the light bulb cartel. Deliberately fixing the prices on light bulbs in a way to undercut competition in Europe. Evil. Not evil, really. It's just light bulbs. So, Neutral Normie, how many leagues have you loaded in the game? So, Neutral Normie, this is very specifically for the purpose of what I'm doing here. So, for this save, this one here, which is where we'll actually look at kind of the expectations and transfer budgets, we've loaded the top 30 leagues. We're not going to be pressing continue at any point. So this is the top 30 leagues as outlined by globalfootballrankings.com. But we will not be pressing continue even once. Let's talk a little bit. Let's move forwards. Let's play Guess the Player first. Sorry. Guess the Player was redeemed 10 minutes ago by RJ. So let's play a little bit of a side game. Then I'm going to come into this. We're going to look at Brighton's transfer budget, what they've got, what their expectations are for the season. Then we're going to load a save that is closest to their average performance in the simulations. Then I can talk about how we've set up that, which is literally just the one league, and why we've done that as well. So let's head on over. It was a Guess the Player, which is one of these. So let's tell you a little bit about Guess the Player in case you haven't seen this before. I appreciate many of you won't have caught these streams before. We have a couple of little mini games that people over on Twitch can redeem and everyone gets to play. Here you're going to see some picture clues of a single player and their Football Manager 24 profile. This means that the player is at the team that they're at the beginning of Football Manager 24 in the regular database. You're going to see things like the positions they play, their attributes, their traits. You're going to see their playing history, and you're going to see them one after another. Your job is just to guess who the player is. The earlier you guess, the more points you get. The more points you get, you end up on this lovely little thing down here. We've got a little leaderboard that runs all time. We run them weekly as well, and so we'll be posting them up in Discord as well. So if you like to join the Discord, I do also recommend heading over there. There should be a lovely link for those guys over on Twitch coming up in your chat. For those guys over on YouTube, it's all in the description there. Everything is there, just to where the description is, and it says ... more. Click that and you'll get all those links that you need as well. So a safe paid hand asks, is this on your skin or the original? It's on the original skin. I appreciate that not everyone's going to use my skin, so we'll go with what is the most familiar. Well, technically it's a slightly adapted version of the original skin so that I can take really big screenshots. But anyway, so let's get on into the first link. And the first picture, you don't really get that much information. You know what positions he plays. He's a right-footed inside forward, likes to play off the left. 3 stars an inside forward, 3 stars a winger, as an inverted winger as well, as an advanced playmaker. He's not a wide target forward. That's what we can generally tell about this. Dirk or Drown, Armchair Outlaw, by the way, thank you massively for the follows. I hope you're doing well. We are just started off playing a little game of Guess the Player. I think you'll be able to pick it up as you go along. If you want to chat, love you to do so. Please do let us know if you're comfortable, who you support, who you're playing with FM as well. So RJ says, how do we play Guess the Player? Indeed, there's the link. Single player, says Cockroach Smelch. Is this Tinder for footballers? That's the first pun of the morning. Beautiful work, Cockroach Smelch, indeed. So let's have a look here. Thank for Amuzus has been guessed. Nico Gonzalez has been guessed. Kvarat Skelia, Kvaradonna, Janik Rochelle, Ferran Torres, Marcus Rashford, Eden Zagova. These are some fabulous guesses. We've not been right yet. RJ has put in brackets the 3 stars rating. That's a key thing to note. 2 big things I think that should be focusing on is that he can also play deeper in midfield. He's also got a pretty good left foot as well. So might be right-footed, but a pretty good left foot too. So the guesses that come in beyond that is we've got Nusa, we've got the recently loaned Naby Keita, maybe Antonio or Nkunku or Sterling or Nemanja Jovic or Mitoma or Dembele or Gakpo. So there are some amazing guesses there. No one's quite right yet. So we'll move on to the next clue. See if this helps at all in any way. I'm not sure necessarily it will. It's an interesting profile. Somebody who's very agile, someone who works hard. They're not necessarily that special in anything, but there's a lot of 15s in there. A lot of almost elite attributes coming out there. So Dirk or Drown says he supports Panathinaikos and Arsenal, the latter since Granit joined them and haven't missed a single game. Right, okay, yeah, so you mentioned on YouTube earlier. Marvellous, thank you very much. So Nkunku had been guessed. Nkunku is a great guess. He is so flexible. Sadly, it's not the one. So Jonsa has gone for Lars Gindorf. We've got Ilias Chair coming in. We've got Julian Brandt, fabulous Julian Brandt. Ilias Akamash. Now, a safe pair of hands. I do not know who that is. I do apologise. My pronunciation is always going to be bad. But my attempt at Aboasek Fujalehev is probably going to be the worst attempt at pronouncing a name I've done at any point. Let's try that again. Aboasek Fujalehev. That's what we're going with. So you can tell from the work rate it's not Rashford. Oh, some slander going in. Noah Lang's been guessed. Grealish, Kaleho. So Vangelis wants to know how long is 5'9" in meters. I think it's around 172 or so ish. So 6 foot is around 1.8 meters, and you've got 7.5 centimeters is 3 inches. So you take that off, you come to around 172.5. So we've got some more guesses coming in. We've got Ryan Shirky, Anthony Gordon, Phil Foden, Elliot Anderson, Marco Royce, Anthony Gordon again, Harvey Barnes, Morgan Whittaker, Mudrick even, Royce, Pepe. We have Alberto Malero connecting to Las Palmas, Pimienta. A nice thought there. Cherky, Castillejo, Rashford Yeboah, Konigsdorfer. Pedro Gonçalves, Sandro, again connecting Las Palmas and the Pepperman, Lewis Potter, Morgan Rogers, all some fabulous guesses. I'm not sure we've had anyone guess the right league yet, so that's just something to be mindful of. We now have the league revealed, and they're a leading League One player, but they're unlikely to improve, so probably not that young. Not necessarily old, but just not young. That's all we can go with there. So now we've got. So had no idea who he was until I found him in the Russian divisions with CSKA Moscow, and I assume that's going to be the Ferzhalayev, an interesting one, someone we can perhaps take a little peek at some point. So Scotty G went for Jacob Ramsey. We had Keane Lewis Potter, had Morgan Rogers again as well. Obviously, these guesses came in a little bit before we changed over, so that's understandable. So now the guesses come in. We've got Doku. We've got Desiree Doué. That's a fabulous guess. It's not Desiree Doué, but that would be... Oh, and Bell was going for Doué as well, not Doku. I do apologise. So it's not Doué, unfortunately. Brilliant player, though. Zahar, Malik Fofana. We've got Dembele, as in Ousmane Dembele. We've got Martin Terrier. Martin Terrier's a great shout. It's not Martin Terrier, but I do like that shout. Jonathan. We've got Cherky is very strong on both feet, so can't be him, as this player is fairly strong. Well observed, well observed. So is it Golovan? It's not Golovan, but I would have loved it to be Golovan. Is it Mukatadze? It's not. It's not Payet either. It's not Nanasi. It's not Ben Seguir or Alexis Sanchez or Sterling or Sofiane Dap or Dimitri Payet or Stefan Mvidi or Jonathan Bamba or Briel Mbolo. I'm going to stop you guys there. I'm going to stop at that point. Briel Mbolo is the moment I'm cutting off, because I have conveniently skipped over an answer, because ACAB Europe has come in and he said Takumi Minamino, and it is most definitely Monaco's Takumi Minamino. Man, it's so nice to see his career start back up after a pretty torrid time of things at Liverpool. A fabulous 2 points to ACAB there. Well done, sir. They're so close as well. Obviously, Golovan was it the same team, so near to where it was. So the applauses are coming in. RJ has sent in the applauses. Johnny Trotter with a thumbs up. Some fabulous work from ACAB. 2 points going his way. Right. Now, I think... Oh, I've skipped to the wrong one. Let's skip to the right bit. Here we go. Now, this is absolutely fabulous. There's loads and loads of you guys in. We've got, like, across both Twitch and YouTube, there's like 100 people, which is astonishing. I'm a little bit shocked and amazed, so I hope we can keep it up. I might struggle to keep up with chat a little bit today, so I'm going to do a little bit of focus. We're going to talk through what we're doing, and we're going to progress a little bit. Thank you for the redeem on the hydrate, RG. So Neutral Normie did says I need a drink after that. Indeed. So we're starting off with Brighton. So just some information that we kind of want to have to hand right at the beginning here is what the expectations are for Brighton, what their transfer budget is, so that we can kind of know exactly what we're working with at the moment. So Brighton here, they are predicted, or their media prediction here is 8th. That's kind of in line with what their board says, I think. So if we pop on over, the board want us to finish mid-table in the Premier League. So nothing really out of sorts there. They will give us a lovely £70 million to do so. Pardon me. And obviously a reasonable amount of that has been the result of the sales of Moises Caicedo, Robert Sanchez and Alexis McAllister over the summer. And they made some big signings as well. Baleba, João Pedro, obviously. Everyone's a big fan of the Valentin Barco. Or are we fans of the Valentin Barco signing? Obviously, that meant that we could no longer sign him as a wonder kid. So, you know, I appreciate that maybe Brighton aren't that popular in that respect. If we look at the other media prediction, the season preview here, we can see that there's a kind of clear gap between teams. You've got Man City, who are runaway favourites. Liverpool expected to be second. Newcastle and Arsenal around the same odds. Man United, Chelsea and Tottenham are around the same odds. Aston Villa, Brighton and West Ham are all at 50-1. So that 8th place, which is where they were predicted, but also say 9th or 10th, is very much in that realm. So let's head on over to a lovely little spreadsheet and see how they actually got on in the simulations. So, we're going to get that transition again. We're going to see a lot of that transition here. So here I've run some simulations. We're going to look at them in a little bit of time anyway. I've exported all their league performances and then averaged everything out. So if we look at Brighton here, they finished on average between 12th and 13th. 12.4 would be the average position if you were to work it out decimally. So they score roughly 52 goals a game, concede 66 goals a game. And that gives them around 45 points. So we're going to look for a save that is kind of around that area. So if we just filter out here, choose Brighton. So we've got a 12th place finish here. They scored 2 goals more, conceded 5 goals more there. But they finished 12th, 2 points more. That's probably... We might pop into save number 8 there. Might actually go for save number 1 here. So if we look at save number 1, they conceded 1 goal. They scored 1 goal fewer. They conceded 2 goals fewer. They scored 3 points less overall. They finished one position lower. But I think that's quite close there. That's closer to their average in terms of goals scored and conceded than the save that they finished 12th. So I think if you can see what we're doing here is we're basically looking at where we can find that. And I can see, hello, Anonymous Fox, whoever Anonymous Fox is. We had an Anonymous Hippo in earlier as well. So just to let you know, for those that want to join the Patreon, one of the benefits is that you get access to all my spreadsheets and all my resources. This is currently in the shared folder. I popped it in there this morning as I was creating it. And someone is already on in there. And I wonder if I hope if you are one of the people who are in the stream, it's kind of making sense as opposed to you're just looking around and you're a little bit confused right now. But then obviously, if you are just looking around and you're a little bit confused right now, you're not hearing me saying this. So that doesn't help whatsoever. Anyway, let's get back to the thing here. So we will load up Premier League 1. This was the first simulation we did. This is where Brighton finished 13th. We're going to look through the performance data for that save. By the way, Fabian de G, thank you very much for the follow. I hope you are well this morning. So we'll need to add a manager in here. Yoni Musterman. Pop over, take over Brighton. And there we go. We can start now having a look through the squad here, and we're going to see those pizza charts, and this is where I'll talk about what we kind of are looking for. And when I say looking for, it's more really what we're trying to understand. So we're not saying I want to find a fullback who's good at this or a fullback who's good at that. We're looking at these are the fullbacks, these are what they did, what they're good at, what they're bad at, where we need to cover in terms of thinking about what the best approach is to go forwards. So let's catch up a little on chat. Bell, by the way, that's very, very kind of bro. You deserve this, is no worries. Hope you get even bigger presents in the FM world. That is so kind. Thank you very much. Johnny Trotter says yes, let's. So RJ says yes. Johnny Trotter says let's go loud noises. Let's make some loud noises indeed. Thanks for the 16.25 million Brighton, says RJ. That's fair. That's fair. So El Norby says, I think that's the top for the team. Talking about just you're here now. So Ferencváros is the favourite to win the league. And we have Puskas Academy with lots of foreign players and few academy players. From Felkshut, that's Auburn's team. Fair. I would have thought that I will try and be as polite and as respectful as possible. But I would have expected that Orban's team would have been very patriotic, shall we say. I would have expected it to be all Hungarian players and Hungarian players only. So 7 seems okay too. 7 does seem okay. Absolutely. So what we've got here is we want to kind of understand a little bit first before we look at the players about how the team has been performing. We know that they finished 13th. We know that they scored 52 goals, 54 goals. They conceded 60. We know that their defence was worse than their attack. So we'll pop on over to the data hub first. And what we can see here is that, generally speaking, not surprised for a team in the bottom half of the table, they're a little bit behind. They were behind on absolutely everything, pretty much. Their pass completion rate is good. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. This does some funky things at times. Bugger off with all the inductions. So we can see their pass completion rate was good, but they're below on tackles 1. We can see here they attempt a lot of tackles, so they're quite busy defensively, and they're not very good at it. They're scoring below expectations, we know that. We can see actually, so they score just over 1.3 goals per game. We'll be able to see this in the XG table, but it looks to be that they score more than they're expected to. So it's more chance creation is their issue rather than conversion. And we should see that, I think, here. So we see, yeah, so they had 45 XG, they scored 50 goals. Defensively, it's the other way around. They gave up 54.8 XG. They conceded 63 goals. So that's certainly a concern. In terms of XG against, we know that's high as well. They're really struggling. We spoke there about being unable to create chances, low shots per game, but their finishing is good. If we look at the attacking, I don't think we're going to see anything more here. We do see that they don't attempt many dribbles, which is quite a surprise, and they lose the ball a lot. So that's something to be mindful of as well. And then, right, the possession one and the clean sheets are broken. Everything else is pretty much what we've seen already. The last thing we want to just check is their possession. So they are 7th for possession, 53%. So that's just a little bit above average. Not massively above average, but it does help to contextualize this. If we see a team that has a lot of possession, then we know that their players are going to have a lot more opportunities to do in possession stuff. That means more opportunities to create chances, so they might have higher expected assists, higher goals, higher progressive passes, higher dribbles, all based around where their possession level is. So that's why we check these things, and we want to be mindful of those. So let's see. Doesn't Puskas Academy have that one really aerially dominant centre-back? Strenati is a good name, that's for sure. So, yep, El Norby has confirmed that Puskas Academies have Strenati. Marvellous. Right. Fabian to G, thanks for the warmly greeting. I really love your YouTube videos, and this is my first time in your stream. Really love the Moneyball Clinic. Well, you have chosen a fabulous first stream to pop into. So this is something a little bit new. What we're doing here, it's we're setting up these are kind of like mini Moneyball clinics. It's the first time I've streamed this as well, so this should be hopefully interesting. Neutral Normie says, in a way, his team not being full of Hungarians is almost more accurate. Fair. I'm trying my best not to say something that will get me shunned in Hungary. So yes. RJ, they're bad at tackles, but at least they try. Yes. And to be fair, having managed a number of teams that have dominated the ball and been really rubbish at attempting tackles at all, like just not even making an effort, I kind of appreciate it. So Maxi Taxi has now asked, I want to do a Moneyball save with the 2012-13 database on FM23 and convert it to FM24. What do you think? Or should I just do the generic databases for FM24? If you want to do that, go and do that. Why not? There are no stipulations with doing a Moneyball style save that you have to do it on a generic database. I don't know how well retro databases work when they're converted from one version to another. You might find some issues with that, but you won't know until you try. So Adam is in. Good morning, sir. How are you? Lurking for a bit while I finish some bits up, but then I'll be in chat. No worries at all. I'm sorry that you had to adult this morning. So JH Quez says you can get redirected from the polygon. Mind blown. So that's very much a skin thing. I think I'm the only one who's done it. I know that Statman quite liked the idea, and he's used some of the same technical elements that were used to then do some hidden button stuff on the player profile. But yes, it's one of my favorite features, but it's also one of those features that isn't quite complete. I would love you to be able to drill down level upon level, so you go from one into another, and then the other one says you're bad at this, you want to check out this chart. But unfortunately, that's just a little bit beyond my comprehension. So let's have a look at the players. We can see Jason Steele was the de facto starter, and he was bad. Like the most obvious thing, expected goals prevented. He conceded 1.67 goals. He should have conceded only 1.39 goals. So your first thing to look at is Jason Steele probably isn't the greatest goalkeeper that they have there. That might be an area that we need to improve, but his distribution is good. He passes. He's on the ball a lot. He passes with good accuracy. He doesn't lose it. He sweeps up quite well, which is marvellous. Bart Verbruggen came in. When Verbruggen played, he played very, very well. He conceded 1.25 goals, but they actually should have conceded 1.78. We've got very similar in terms of possession won, possession lost. So a first thing that we know of this is probably Jason Steele. You might want to cash in on him. Let's have a look at his history. He's been there for a long time. His contract, they renewed his contract during the simulation, it looks like. So that means that when you start the game, he hasn't just renewed his contract. So he might be potentially, he might be a good candidate to be sold. In defence, it looks like they started Lewis Dunk at centre-back, Joel Veltman at right-back, yep. Jean-Paul Van Hecker at centre-back. He played one game at right-back. And I'm guessing it's going to be a Stupinian. Yep. And a Stupinian at left-back. So that's what we appear to have there. Do we have... Eagle didn't start much. Tarek Lamptey didn't. Barco didn't. James Milner started a lot of games, but that's in midfield. Yep, so let's have a look at the centre-backs here. Webster, only a handful of games there. So centre-backs here, we can see that Lewis Dunk... Now remember, they had 53% of the ball. So they didn't have the ball, or they are defending 47% of the time. So that's not too far... that's not too far removed from the average. So you would expect that they need to do roughly an average amount of defending. And they haven't. So we look at Lewis Dunk here. He's in only the... Oh, that's the 60th, 40th, 25th percentile for tackles won. And that's about the 35th percentile for headers won. So you would have... We can already see that he's not very active in that regard. He does do okay when he needs to. 76% tackles won, 74% headers won. That's pretty decent. He's on the ball a lot. He doesn't lose it a lot, but he loses it. He loses it basically more than you would expect for someone who's had 60 passes. So that is a little bit of a concern. And similarly, he is progressive, but it's less when it's relevant to the passes. So Lewis Dunk is not a particularly good player in terms of progression, apart from with carrying. But 0.21 dribbles, that's good for a centre-back, but that's not going to make a huge amount of difference. So there are some concerns there. Jean-Paul Van Hecker appears to be slightly better there, so we can see. Right, first thing we'll do, I can compare these guys this way. It doesn't quite fit on the screen at this resolution, but we can see that Jean-Paul Van Hecker completed 69.25 passes, lost the ball 4.73 times. Lewis Dunk completed 10 fewer passes, lost the ball 0.5 times more. So we can already see that when we look at things relative to passes completed, that Jean-Paul Van Hecker is much, much better at being safe with it. Relatively, Jean-Paul Van Hecker, more passes completed, but fewer progressive passes. So relatively speaking, Dunk is the more progressive of the two, but not particularly good at it. So my initial reaction to this, they've got very, very similar tackle win rate, header win rate. They're both not challenging for it much. Van Hecker is kind of the better defender. He's safer on the ball. He's marginally better at a couple of other things. Lewis Dunk is the more progressive one, but isn't particularly progressive, and so that's going to be the need in a if we continue with a possession-based approach, then we're going to want someone in that defensive line that is more progressive than both Dunk and Veltman. So sorry, let me catch up with chat a little bit as we go. Right. Frankfurt is the Hungarian Bayern Munich. They recently loaned Naby Keita. That will make sense there indeed. So which database is this then? Real World. It is indeed the Real World with the transfer embargo. So all the simulations were done with basically the squads exactly as they were in real life. For these simulations, we have only loaded the Premier League and the Championship. Because all those transfers that are going to happen. This just streamlines the data, and then when we move on to a different league, I will just run those simulations with that league at a time, rather than loading all the leagues, putting them all on full detail again, and then having to leave the game to run for 2 days whilst it tries and processes everything. So this way we can get through it very quickly. We can use it to look into our data. We're going to identify with the player, the team, we're going to analyse the players. Then we're going to look at a separate database from the actual Moneyball Clinic for looking at what kind of transfer targets might be appropriate. We have that data already, but this is specifically so we could have had the most realistic representation of what could potentially happen. So Puskas Academy have 13 foreign players. That's quite a number. Maxi Taxi says, gotta go now. See ya. Enjoy the stream. It's been very interesting so far, and thanks for the advice. No worries. Thank you very much for dropping by, Maxi Taxi. So Armchair Outlaw says, need to say thank you for the wonderful Pimienta vid. Makes me want to manage in La Liga. Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed it. It's really, really fun to make. One of the wonderful things is, so the La Liga upload, every now and then, they upload full games on YouTube, which makes it very easy for a chump like me who doesn't have any kind of like special access to scouting tools or anything, to be able to watch back games and properly analyse, which is good fun. So, joke aside, Verbruggen made us a lot of money for Belgium, but he was very good. He's a funny player in real life. I'm not convinced, but he's only a wee lad, isn't he? He's 21 years old. I know calling a man who's like 6'4" a wee lad is a bit ridiculous, but you know what I mean. So Joel Veltman here, he played at fullback. Right, I understand. Sorry, where was I? Will you be bidding for Jaden Reed? Not sure if he speaks Brightonish. We will definitely be going with Jaden Reed. Oh, Jaden Reed. How can I get the streaming skin that you used? So Red App, the streaming skin, as I think I've mentioned before, I don't release that publicly because, as explained in like in the descriptions and everything, it doesn't work in certain situations. If I do this or this, okay, we seem to be okay in that respect, but sometimes if you hover over things, it jumps all over the place. You can't see players who are out on loan. So I think, do Brighton have any? We see Kjell Sherpen and Carl Rushworth here. They're in the first team squad, but they're out on loan. They don't appear here. You can't see players in the international teams whatsoever. So it's not publicly available. That said, same with all my spreadsheets and all the dashboards and things like that. Some of the stuff that you will also see elsewhere on here. Patrons do have access to every file that I have. So that will include all the weird and wonderful variations on the skins that I use for different scenarios. So for streaming, for certain videos, for various little changes I made here and there. They'll probably end up getting the slightly adapted version that I've done for today. This isn't quite right because I need to work out the colors here, but with really, really massive pizza charts and things like that. So all the kind of weird and wonderful bits is available to Patreons. There is a link I'm really good at this whole join my Patreon. There you go. So there you go. There is the link there if it is something you want to consider. But they are very much as they come. The stream skin is designed to work at 1600 by 900. It is here for a specific purpose. The one for videos is designed to work at 2560 by 1440. It's going to have issues if you try it at different resolutions. So I have a short question for the databases. How many leagues and which are you loading? So Fabian, as I mentioned, okay, yep, and you have responded there. Beautiful. I understand it's not available, a bit unstable for general release. Indeed, Johnny. So JH Quez, shouldn't you cross-check this based on what roles they played? So yes and no. We're ultimately, all we need to know is how they've been performing.
It's not the statistics! It's not the statistics! You tell me! How do you measure somebody that could balance a balloon in a wind tunnel on a needle?
Thank you so much for the resubscription with Prime as well, Charlie MCFC. You only get one of those. And you've chosen to spend on me. So I really, really do appreciate that. You are an absolute diamond. So yeah. So where was I? I do apologise. Yeah. So it doesn't matter what roles they played. Ultimately, we're looking at what their profile is. It's a bit like saying, I'm going to play Marcus Rashford as a target forward because I think he can be a target forward. Realistically, when you're assessing him on his performance data, it doesn't matter what he's been told to do. It matters what he has done. And that's where we look at it from there, and then we can start to piece together. So you will find that by looking at performance data, you will only be viewing players through what they've actually done, which does mean that you might be missing out on what they could do. You know, they might have the ability to do something different, but you're not going to know because they're not demonstrating it. It's all just essentially conjecture at that point. How can I do the transfer embargo? So pre-game editor available on Steam or by downloading a database that has this setting included. Exactly as Cockroach said. So on FM Scout, there is a transfer embargo mod, which is all I use. Nice and straightforward. Johnny Trotter is using the public version. He likes it. That's what I like to hear. Thank you. So Brightonian English, indeed. Jaden Reed. Jaden Reed, he can't speak Swedish, and apparently that's my fault, you see. Red App says, I love it too, but I think this one is more practical. You have what you really need in this one. Look, I am not going to... This is like my greatest regret that it's not stable, because this is such a cool thing for a squad page. But there we go. Right, Keck W. Rashford just walks around, nothing there to analyse as Rennie's. That's a little harsh, but I also get it. That's also how you can see if a player could be good in another position. Indeed. So, right. I do need to jump on a break. I do realise that I've missed the break that is naturally scheduled on Twitch. I think there is one. It suggests that it's coming up on YouTube, or at least my YouTube has gone to one. I don't know if it's all at the same time for everyone over there. So I do apologize. I'm going to take a little break. It's just going to be a couple of minutes as I basically stretch my legs and poison my lungs and refill my drink. I will be there in probably, let's say, 2 minutes. I recommend you stretch your legs as well. I'll see you guys in a couple of moments. Right, that took a little bit longer than I expected. I do apologise. And we're going to head straight into a game of Only Connect. So, Cockhook Smelsh. Oh, I ran up and down the stairs and now my breath is gone. God, I'm so old and unfit. Let me just take a couple of seconds. There we go. So, Cockhook Smelsh has redeemed Only Connect. Let me explain how this works for you guys that haven't seen this before. You're going to see 4 pictures of players, one after another. They all share a common connection. Oh, nope, still caught breathless. Ooh. That's a little bit concerning, isn't it? I have a feeling that once this stream is over, I'm probably going to have to get the rowing machine down and maybe do a little bit of cardio, because I shouldn't be caught out this much by a quick run up and down the stairs, eh? Yeah. So you're going to see 4 pictures. They're all players. They all have a common connection. You'll see those pictures one after another, and as they're revealed, you'll kind of get a better idea of what that connection might be. Same as before, the earlier you guess, the more points you get. Let's just head into it, shall we? Boom. Number 1. Now, you won't be told who those players are, and as you can guess probably from a look at this picture here, these players might not be playing currently anymore. So do shout out in chat who you think it is if you know, because then you guys can kind of play off one another, can kind of work out an understanding together. As before, obviously Twitch can't see YouTube chat, so I will be reading out the chat. YouTube, you have a little bit of an advantage because you can see the Twitch chat, which means you can see their guesses and use that to inform yours. And it takes them a while before they find out what you've said. So let's see. We've got they all dated Freddie Adu as a guess. That's a fine guess. I do like that we have evolved the Freddie Adu guesses here. They all have a headache. It does indeed look like this gentleman has a headache. So they're all players are trapped in the body of a 60-year-old concerned Coventry manager. That is also quite fair. And to be reasonable to him, he was a concerned Coventry manager whilst he was still there, that's for sure. So they scored last-minute goals for Sir Alex Ferguson. That is a very interesting guess indeed. It's true as well, obviously, but that isn't the clue. And so Johnny Trotter has helped people out here. He's gone and told you that it is Mark Robbins. So Bell asked, who the F is this lad? It is indeed Mark Robbins. You're going to find some of those clues are going to be a little bit more obscure, and maybe so Cockhook Smelsh says, I think this quiz is out of my time. Maybe you might get some old players, you might get some modern players, they might all share a connection. A safe pair of hands guessed Man United. And whilst I think it might be reasonable to say that there is some kind of Man United connection in here there might be something a little bit more than that, I'm afraid. So we do need to go a little bit further than just Man United, that's for sure. Right, so are they all sad? Well, unfortunately, just as you said, they're all sad. This person came in and they were definitely not sad. That is the complete opposite of sad. So they are all related to Premier League, so I won't guess it. Fair point, RJ, but when we've done stuff that's been related to Belgium, other people have swung in before you, so... You know, in fact, I remember the last time you said, oh, it's all related to Premier League. I think you got the points then as well. So Johnny Trotter's guessing, are they bird names? They're not bird names. And Cockhook Smelsh is wondering if it's animal names again. It is not. We won't reuse the same connections as before. So Cockhook Smelsh, they are all related to Rio Ferdinand. That would be a one hell of a thing. Now, does anyone know who this is? I think is probably the first question to ask. Does anyone recognise the England international footballer? So have they all scored in a major club or country cup final? That is a fine guess. That isn't the clue, I'm afraid. But obviously, I mean, well, the picture gives you a big clue that this person has scored in big games before. That's the counter curse, yes. Indeed. So Cockhook Smelsh has gone for Fisk. So no, we've got no idea from RJ. Morgan's, she is not. Bracket says Procchioni. It's not okay. So JH Fairs scored for the national team. Again, unfortunately, it's going to be something a little bit more complicated than that. Unfortunately. So Adam is here. Adam is here. He's just two clues in. Maybe he can help. João Suarez has correctly identified that this is Ella Toone. So we have Mark Robins and Ella Toone. Jim has told us that Robins had a pass from Greece as coach. I don't blame them. That's fair. Come on, Adam, save us. So nickname guessed that it was Katie Zellum. It wasn't Katie Zellum. Let's move on to the next clue. And it is unfortunately another bit of a throwback, but this is a classic player. One of the greatest to do what he did. Well, maybe that's a little bit too fine a statement there. Maybe not the finest, but certainly very, very good at what he did. Probably not as remembered for his time during this stint. Maybe better remembered for other teams. So, It's Me Ronnie has guessed it's Andrei Kanchelskis. I think the fact that I said his first name probably means you're right. It is indeed Andrei Kanchelskis. It's not Paul Rideout. Vangelis has gone for Kanchelskis as well, indeed. So we have something bizarrely enough sorry, bear me one moment. Just got a comment here I need to just check. Right, okay, thank you very much for letting me know, Belle. I'm not planning on pronouncing it with an F. But if it happens, it happens. I'm very bad at pronouncing anyway. But so the guess is coming in is, are they all linked in to Neville? I don't know if they are, but that could be an interesting idea. So Adam says, have they all scored cup goals that have kept Man United managers in a job? Or have they all scored in the Manchester derby? I can tell you that you are getting a lot closer. You're not quite there yet. Yonsa, oh look, he's back in time just for Only Connect. You are indeed. So Nicola Etcham has guessed, are they linked to Rooney? They're not, but that's a fine guess. Have they scored for or played for Manchester United? What I can tell you, JX, we're going to move to the last clue, is they have all played for Man United. And so neutral normally, they are all linked to Man United. But there is something a little bit more than just that. It's not that and that alone. There is something a little bit more about them. The Colquitt Smusher says, have they all scored in a reversal in a United derby? So no, it's not that. And there we go. We have now got the guesses coming in, and it's Colquitt Smelsh who got there first. Managed to just step in before RJ and Adam. RJ, who said that he was never going to get it whatsoever. He did get the correct answer, but he was a little bit behind. So they played for both Manchester teams. It is, of course, the Manchester derby today. So, it only makes sense. A Mancunian betrayal. Mark Robins played for Man United between 1986 and 92, and then played 2 games for Manchester City in 1999. Ella Toone was at Manchester City for 2 years before joining Man United in 2018. Andrei Kanchelskis was at Man United in the mid-90s, and then I think it was just a single season in 2000, maybe not even the whole season, in 2001 for Man City. And obviously Carlos Tevez, Manchester City legend, spent longer at Manchester City than Man United. And obviously appeared on that poster with his arms stretched out, welcome to Manchester in the Manchester City kit. All that went down a treat, didn't it? That definitely went down a treat. So a marvellous, fabulous, wonderful point goes to Colquitt Smelsh there. Well done, sir. Well done. So Hargreaves played for both, if I recall. He did indeed. There were quite a few. Peter Schmeichel played for both as well. Was one of the considerations for it too. Some fabulous players that have done it. Like 3 seconds before. I know RJ just not quite there. Not quite there in time. So they all scored in an FA Cup final was another guess that came in, that they scored in a Manchester United loss in a derby. So all fabulous guesses. They may well even be true. I haven't looked into it. I forgot Robins did. Indeed. I don't think anyone's expected to remember Mark Robins and his 2 appearances for Man City. So Dennis Law played for both. Yep, that's right as well. I should have probably got that from Kanchelskis, but I had the cups on my mind by then. That's understandable. And Caffeine as well said, good evening. No, not good evening. Good morning, Caffeine. What on earth are you doing up at this time, sir? This is a truly ungodly hour for you. Look, guys, if you don't follow Caffeine FM already, by dear Lord, you most definitely should be. Of course, it does help if I know how to spell the word shout out. So, at Caffeine FC, go give that man, you see that love, for those guys on Twitch, you see that lovely little heart appearing on the right in your stream chat. Hit that as hard as you can. Go check out Caffeine when he's streaming. He had a fabulous save with Hamburg earlier in the year. He's still with Hamburg at the moment. I haven't dropped in for a while, I must confess. Good, very early morning. It's 5:45 a.m. Are we doing all teams today, by the way? Oh, sorry. No, we are definitely not. I have once again overestimated my ability to keep up with both chat and the game, so we might get to a second team. I think a third might be a stretch at this rate. So we got to Joel Veltman. Joel Veltman was playing as a fullback, and we can see that as a fullback he is very, very progressive. His progressiveness is in line with the number of passes he's had. He's very safe on the ball. He's been one of the best players so far in terms of possession won, and he's very, very active. So 62% header win rate from a 6-foot right back is probably a little bit lower than I would have liked. But he's active and he's winning his duels. He doesn't pressure much, so that indicates that he stays back and he's probably a little bit better in terms of build up there. There are questions whether, if he wasn't... so the header win rate is a little bit too low. We can't really consider him in an inside role, I don't think. And then at left back, they started Estupiñán. Again, pretty decent in the tackle. We can see that he does attempt to pressure, which is much more encouraging. Could be used in a higher pressing system, maybe as a wing back further up. We can see he's not as safe on the ball. He is respectively probably not quite as progressive. So 7 progressive passes from 50 passes is around a 1 in 7 or a 14% progressive pass rate. We compare that to Joel Veltman. 8 from 58 is so 8 times 7 is 56. That's slightly higher than 1 in 7. So Veltman is slightly more progressive proportionately as well as in numbers. But Estupiñán does well in terms of dribbling. Isn't creating that much. It's only 0.07 expected assists per 90. He is getting amongst the goals. So we add that in with his gets forward whenever possible. I think he's kind of an okay player, but I would question whether he's really doing much in terms of like being an out-and-out wing-back kind of player. So who are the midfielders? It looks like we've got James Milner. We know he played as a defensive midfielder. 33 games, 7 goals, 6 assists is quite impressive from defensive midfield. Adam Lallana played in midfield. He played as an attacking midfielder, so we're in a 4-2-3-1. Looks like Billy Gilmore was the other pivot. He is indeed. So those are the 2 starters, James Milner and Billy Gilmore. James Milner is a player who engages in his tackles and wins them. Doesn't win headers, does pressure. A phenomenal amount of goals. He must be taking penalties, right? He must be taking penalties. No, just the 1 penalty. To score 8 goals from a combined 2.95 XG is quite sensational stuff. Very, very interesting there. Then alongside him was Billy Gilmore. Billy Gilmore seems to be a little bit more rounded. Expected assists decent there. Not really helping much in terms of ball safety. Not winning it. Not keeping it safe. Not contributing defensively whatsoever. His goal rate, no one's goals is going to be as impressive as James Milner. 8 from 2.9. That's like almost triple his XG from a defensive midfielder. Is crazy. So what this looks like here, we've got a player that can do everything, but isn't necessarily particularly good in terms of ball safety. We've got someone who's a little bit more creative and well-rounded, but still isn't good in ball safety. So for defensive midfield, there is a big gap in terms of protection. Carlos Baleba has played there a little bit, 14 starts, 13 substitute appearances. His tackle win rate, he's making tackles, but he's only winning them at 68%. But he is both active there and he's winning back the ball. Again, not safe on it. Kind of creative, kind of progressive. I feel like that's a bit of a weak point too there, to be fair. So Caffeine says he's still with Hamburg. Haven't streamed in a couple of weeks owing to in real life considerations. Understandable. But streaming later this morning. The only thing we're missing is a win in Europe. Been a great save so far. Marvellous. Marvellous. And so Cocky Smush says caffeine by name, caffeine by nature. Adam asks, is the purple-blue colour schemes for a Premier League theme or a mini Moneyball theme? Asking the big questions this morning. So, here's where I confess that I stole the Premier League colours for my own branding. The blues and the purples you can see in the background were basically taken from these specific ones. So this is kind of a mixture of Premier League branding and my branding. I thought that for the Moneyball Clinic, it kind of made sense to kind of bring it in line with that. I haven't tested it out beyond the scope of looking at player stats at the moment, so I don't know if it's in a releasable as a download. I don't know how this is in every screen yet. Before, if it is, fine, and I think it should be. It will be added onto the media file list and added in videos, so people can download the purple and very, very bright blue scheme. Is Tariq Lamptey related to Nee? I wish he was. Nee Lamptey is such a tragic story, really, isn't it? So many high promises for him, and it never quite worked out. Sad, really. Right, on to Adam Lallana. Adam Lallana played behind the striker, and he was rubbish. That's definitely more of a need. He didn't create, he didn't dribble, he didn't help get the ball forwards. He was safe on the ball. He was safe on the ball because he did bugger all with it. He took no risks and achieved nothing. He doesn't pressure. Attacking midfielders tend to have better tackle win rates than defenders, and his is worse. That's the biggest issue so far. The biggest issue so far is the attacking midfield spot from the looks of things. Who else do we have? We have Pascal Gross. He played mainly in defensive midfield as well. So a lot of players playing in defensive midfield. He's been like Billy Gilmore, much more rounded, both in terms of like progression and in terms of creating. Still rubbish defensively. Solly March playing on the right wing. Solly March on the right wing. We can see from March here, that's much better. This is a player who is really creative, dribbles a lot. He's dropping back and he's helping with build-up. He's losing the ball a lot, but that's fine because he's creative. He's winning the ball back. Look at this defensive stuff from her. This is compared to other attacking midfielders, so it's not like he's like being compared to defenders or defensive midfielders. This is amongst other people that play as high up as he does and has the opportunities to pressure as often. Solly March is absolutely sensational. Definitely a piece that we could build around. I never thought I'd say that about Solly March. Like, he's dependable, man. You know, exactly what you want from a squad player, but not a player you'd think would be that good. Solly March is completing more dribbles than Karu Mitoma. Karu, I have a diploma in dribbling. Mitoma dribbles less than Solly March. But again, good defensive contribution, much safer on the ball. So whilst he completes fewer dribbles, he's obviously making the right decisions about when to dribble, which is cool. Not as creative, not as goal scoring, but pretty solid there. Pretty solid. Of the other attacking midfielders, we have Ansu Fati. He split his time between the wings and striker. So that's going to mean that we can't really tell much from there. But we can look at, compared to all players, we can see that he is generally a dribbly boy. He is scoring 0.25 more than his non-penalty XG. He's not that creative. Pressure's kind of on the low side. He's an okay piece. His dribbling numbers aren't that great, partly because he's played up front as well. His goal scoring isn't sensational, partly because he's ended up on the wing. Nothing necessarily there that suggests that you'd want to keep him around past the season, unless you've got a really, really nice price there. So João Pedro in this save pulled his knee ligaments, and okay, that's only in May. Just a number of small injuries during the course of the season means that he didn't play that much. 10 starts, 15 substitute appearances, split time between the wings and up front. So we can kind of look at him in the same way that we've looked at Ansu Fati. Scored the same number of goals, similar non-penalty XG. Okay, let me catch up a little bit on chat here. So, how do you rate dribbliness in terms of progressing the ball for your fullbacks? Had a wing-back attack with low numbers for most things, but very high amount of dribbles. So, fullbacks are almost always the most successful dribblers in games in terms of volume. The way that dribbles are measured. Let's a good example will probably be somewhere in this game. I'm sure that we should be able to see at least one example with pretty minimal effort. So players, Brighton, movement, dribbles, Purvis and Stupinian. I'm going to guess that this is going to be an underwhelming highlight, because that's what most dribbles are, underwhelming. Okay, he actually kind of... So, I mean, he did dribble past a player, and we will see that again. Let's just move back. Let's reverse it. So one of the issues with dribbles is, and this is kind of how it's recorded in real life as well, a dribble is just recording as taking a ball past a player. So here, like, there's not really much of a challenge from Brownhill at all to be considered much of a dribble, but this is because when he's got the ball, if Stupinian has taken it physically past him, gone from his side to past the defender, and the defender is in with enough proximity for it to be considered a dribble. And so dribbles are a weird statistic as it is generally, because it's not necessarily what you associate with dribbles. And this is exactly how it's measured in real life as well, which is I mean, it makes sense. How do you quantify a dribble? Well, it's taking the ball past someone. How close does a player have to be for it to be considered being dribbled past? Actually, not that close. So you get these kind of weirdness in there. So generally speaking, dribbling for your fullbacks, if you want them getting forwards, that as a method of progression is usually very key. Kind of though, what you'll see, especially in Football Manager, is that players that progress the ball, that dribble a lot, will have very bad possession loss, because what a lot of players tend to do in this game is they dribble it past and then they run off the pitch, which isn't very helpful. So if you can find that magic combination of high dribbles, low possession loss, that's a thing of beauty. We don't have that. We have Joel Veltman, who's got low dribbles, good possession lost, and we have Purvis Stupinian. Actually, his possession loss is really good. Purvis Stupinian might be a player to buy. Good dribbles, good possession lost. Tarek Lamptey's been okay in that regard. This is very rare. So everyone else is rubbish. Everyone else is rubbish at maintaining possession, but the fullbacks are quite good in that regard. So let me just find back there. So Nickname says, I loved signing Belabor in FM23. This is what Brighton do, isn't it? They look for all...
Statistics! It's not the statistics! Oh. You tell me, how do you measure somebody that could balance a balloon in a wind tunnel on a needle?
Oh my, look Ma, no pants. Thank you so much for the 5 community gift subs. That's a sub for the Goodger. It's a sub for Adrongus. That's a sub for Ryan 1,000,010. That's a sub from It's Me Ronnie. It's a sub for Blazing Bishop. All from the kind heart of Lookmar No Pants. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. What was the question I was reading? So yeah, that's what Brighton do. They sign all the great wonder kids. What position did Gross play in this save? So yep, he was playing mainly as a defensive midfielder. As we said, he did split sometime. He spent a few games up as an attacking midfielder, some as defender right, some on the left wing as well. So he did find himself splitting his time between multiple positions. Gilmore and Milner both left in real life, right? Indeed they did. Gilmore to Napoli as part of Antonio Conte's crazy plundering of the Premier League. Muster League branding, indeed, Adam. Milner and Lallana have a combined age of 74 years old. They do indeed. Now, I've got a very, very boring story to tell you about Adam Lallana. Adam Lallana here was born in St Albans. It's a little city just outside London in Hertfordshire. It's where I grew up. And one of my friends used to babysit Adam Lallana. Useless bit of information there. But there you go. Adam Lallana is a local lad done good, as far as I'm concerned. But he's been a bit rubbish in this. Like, he's really rubbish. Right, for strikers, we have Danny Welbeck. Danny Welbeck has been pretty poor as a striker. Has he been playing on the wing? No, he's been playing up front. This is a need. João Pedro's injury-wise, he scored under his XG. He was the same as Ansu Fati. So we can kind of see where, if we try and look at this all together a little bit, and I will catch up on the other bits. So how would March stack up against fullbacks for his defensive stuff? Well, so I can't. There's no point in measuring these statistics against a fullback because he hasn't been playing as a fullback. So if you're higher up the pitch and you're engaged in a high press, you're going to pressure a lot more than a fullback will. You're going to complete. The fact he's completing so many dribbles, just generally speaking, is incredible. But though they're not comparable across different positions like that. Because the demands are different depending on whereabouts you are on the pitch. So A4Og asked, what is that skin of the game? It's in the description. This is the Mustermann Iconic skin, the skin that I made for this one. Oh, I do apologise. Belle, I did see your question earlier about whether there would be a Mustermann skin for FM25. There will not. As mentioned with the last release that I did, that's me done. I no longer make skins formally from this point on. We don't know whether it's even going to be possible in FM25, but a new interface is coming. And as somebody that cares about the interface, I want to experience that interface. I want to discover it as much as I can, get used to it, give it time for me to get used to it before I even consider whether anything needs any changes beyond there. So Quez says, I know that dribbles are stupid in FM. That's the thing this game does not have. Progressive carries or something like that is a shame. I'd love there to be progressive carries. That would be very, very helpful. Right, Vangler says, now you must do a local lad save. I think that's basically it. It would be Adam Lallana and Craig McHale Smith, basically. So Letry asks, just started a Moneyball Director of Football save for Brombury. Also, sorry if I haven't been involved in chat, just been out and about. No need to apologise, my dude, indeed. So Mitoma dribble less than March. It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. Now, let's pop on over to this lovely bit here. We're going to pop over to the browser. So if we take a consideration as to what we've got there, and we'll use this because it's a little bit more flexible with moving stuff around. Oh, so Armchair Outlaw says, I'm off for today. Great to catch a stream, mate. Take care, you all. Thank you so much for popping by. I really do appreciate it. I hope you have a lovely, lovely Sunday. So Vangelis says, not necessarily from St Albans. Move it over to Mariaham, lads. Oh, that would be a challenge. That would be one hell of a big challenge. There are only a finite number of people in the Åland Islands. Not many of them that I met that actually were that bothered by football, which is a bit of a shame. Right, so we see that they played in a 4-2-3-1. We saw that Estupinian was pretty good at getting forwards. We saw that Veltman was pretty good at staying safe. We saw that Van Hecker was pretty good, and we saw that Dunk wasn't. So this would be a need. Ideally, someone that can help with progressive passing, and that's a shortage there. In defensive midfield, Gilmour and Milner were kind of okay. Milner was getting forwards and scoring goals, which is great. Gilmour wasn't great. There's not really the defensive protection there. So that would be a need. And Milner's best contributions were going forwards. So the question is whether he's really a defensive midfielder. You're probably starting to look at something here where maybe it's more of a 4-3-3. Attacking midfield was an issue as well. So you would potentially be looking at something more like a 4-3-3. You've got Solly March and Mitoma. And you've got some problems here as well. So Veltman is a player that doesn't really push forwards. Solly March is a player that cuts inside. And you don't really have anyone stretching the right-hand side. Mitoma wasn't as good in terms of creating. Likes to come inside. Estupinian moves beyond, so that's fine. We've essentially got a reasonable balance down the left. We've got a need there. We've got a need there. James Milner's fine. We've probably got a need here. And depending on balance, we might have a need here. It may be that Solly March could be the solution inside. But then you're definitely going to lose some of that dribbliness. He's not going to be an answer up front, but they didn't necessarily have that goal scoring either. We will talk about Evan Ferguson and João Pedro a little bit more in a moment. But we're looking at something that will hold three back, potentially getting forwards. Does Veltman step in? Do we have the balance? Those are the questions that essentially I'm asking around. So RJ says the famous Need brothers, indeed. They're the English equivalent of the Espositos. It's quadruplets. Quadruplets. Can you imagine? All born from at the same time. That poor mother having to carry them to terms. So are we going for real life tactics, RJ? So what we're going to be doing in terms of this is we're not going to go for like emotion. We're just going to more talk about what would be suitable and talk more philosophical, really. Let's pop back to the lovely little Football Manager there. At least you'll have the eldritch horrors living in the sea as well. Indeed. Do a circle around the location and recruit from there, says Vangelis. As I say, we probably won't be doing that with Marihan. We're already stuttering after Friday evening's stream. I'd much rather just let the game come to it as us. We've already got scouting turned off, so we can't just find players. It's got to be players that our scouts have gone and scouted. So that kind of helps us in that regard. Or that our director of football has recommended, which is a lot of American players, bizarrely. So when we look at that and we look here, and this profile, I think the default formation it recommend I said was my favourite was a 3-4-1-2. So this will come up every time. But we are looking at a team who hasn't really dominated possession that much and hasn't been that safe. So you kind of associate them with the controlled possession style. I don't think that that's actually really a good mix for what they've done. They've got players that like to cut inside. They've got players that like to flood forwards, and they've not necessarily had the same amount of control. And so they are, to me, more of a vertical tiki-taka. And we've already said that it looks like a 4-3-3 is more likely there. Now, this isn't going to be a Regista style. You'd probably want something. You'd want a more defensive midfielder. And then you've got your players pushing forwards here. So we've got an inside fullback. This guy would be some form of wingback. I would actually consider both of these guys as wingers. So I'd consider Mitoma as a winger on attack with cut inside. And Solly March to be exactly the same. A winger but on support but with cut inside with the ball. So they hold the width, they provide it, and then they push inside. Otherwise, we're looking pretty much the same there. Nothing majorly untoward. This is a team that needs a ball-playing defender. They need someone who can help with that progression. They need someone. Belabor wasn't necessarily any different to Billy Gilmore in terms of the defensive output, so you'd probably look at having someone like Milner, who was very good at scoring goals and getting forward, in a more attacking role, whether that's on the left or on the right. You'd probably look at having someone like Belabor or Gilmore doing the creative stuff. The creative stuff is very useful from one of these positions, and you're going to need someone to do the more defensive work. So those will be the areas we want to address. So if we're going to hop back, we're going to look at a third tab in a moment. So let's just catch up on chat a bit as well. So Shawnee says, fact of the day, Cagliari versus Atalanta is the only Serie A match that doesn't use full abbreviations in the scoreboard, as Kagata essentially means shit match. That's a fun fact indeed. Amazing fact there, Shawnee. Thank you for the follow, by the way. So Nickname says, would be cool to try the Las Palmas tactic. So I don't think that there were a possession, Brighton, we might associate them with the possession style, but the actual performances of the players hasn't really shown that, to be honest. And I say, we're not going to be playing any games. We're just going to kind of identify the core principles behind it. You would probably want something a little bit more vertical that floods players forwards. But we do need to look at the profiles of players. Now, with the striker, we can change for a number of roles. And Evan Ferguson might be the player that you end up playing. We know that he's a good player in game. In terms of at least he develops. He's only 19. Doesn't necessarily need to be the... no, we need to drink again. Doesn't necessarily have to be the starter or the centerpiece. But Danny Welbeck, not particularly good at all, underscored as XG. João Pedro, underscored as XG. Ansu Fati, underscored as XG. So that is an area of need. Whether that is somebody who might be able to hold the ball up. We look at Evan Ferguson here. He has got good pace. He has got good finishing. So maybe you could build around him. But that is a need. So we will look for those areas on the pitch. We'll look for a ball-playing defender, a defensive midfielder, and a pressing forwards. I think Verbruggen is okay for what we've got. We have a budget of £70 million, which is a lot of money. A lot of money. Oh, Shawnee says, news just in. Wolves have given O'Neill his P45. About time. I mean, it's kind of been the writing's been on the wall for quite a while now, hasn't it? Let's be fair. I mean, I think we all knew it was going to happen eventually. Where are we heading over to? We are heading over to this lovely bit here. So this is basically a Looker Studio report, which is the Moneyball Clinic dashboard that I use. This is available for Patreons. So this is one of the benefits there. I will do the thing that I should probably do a lot more often, but I'm rubbish at doing, and I feel really awkward even when I say it right now. And I'm just going to cringe a little bit inside and hope that if I talk it through, people won't notice that I'm cringing, which probably would happen if I didn't also say that I'm cringing. So we're going to look for, first thing we're going to look for is we're going to look for defenders. We had a header win rate of above 70%. We had a tackle win rate of above 70%. So we're going to use that as a starting point there. I'm not used to doing this on such a small resolution. I can just type it in, can't I? There we go. That's much easier to start there. So we're looking for players with 70% header win rate, 7% tackle win rate. We also want them to be good at progressing the ball. And we saw that with Lewis Dunk, he was in the around the 55th, 60th percentile for progressive passes. We want better than that. So we will look for the 75th percentile, which I would call very good and beyond. And there are, from the simulations that were done, there are just 19 players that meet that criteria. And some of them we're not going to go for. So if we drop at most, we'd want to spend a third of the budget. We've got 3 players that we're looking at. So if we bring this down, this is in euros. So if we bring this down to 30, what is 70 in euros? It's probably going to be around 85 million euros, isn't it? So we bring this down to 30. 30 million euros there. We will look at their wage budget as well. Who's the highest earner? Right. Let me just sort out these transitions. We'll move to a cut so that I can just do this nice and easily. If we pop to their finances and we look at salary commitments, the top earner is under £100,000. We'll call that about 110,000 euros. So realistically, that's going to be a limitation that we want to work with as well. And all of a sudden, as we filter down, we're going to see that there are relatively few options out there who have actually proven to be good. So out of the hundreds upon hundreds of players that made the grade in the simulations, there are just 12 that reached those criteria. And some of these guys are going to be potentially playing at a level that maybe isn't comparable. I don't think, for example, Henrik Dalsgaard in Denmark is going to be necessarily the player who can make the step up to that level immediately. So Hungerman says Brighton needs a striker who scores. They do indeed. We will get to strikers very, very soon. So Maeve says in most of the leagues you can build a team with 10 million. Indeed you can. And as you see, we've got a lot of options here who aren't necessarily going to break the bank. You might find that you'd be able to put together a pretty decent team for maybe not 10 million, but for a little bit cheaper. So Nathan Walker says, sorry to ask, because I know you've probably been asked 100 times, but what program is that you're using? This, as I said literally just a few seconds ago, this is Looker Studio. This is Google's dashboard thing. It's basically just a piece of software to allow you to put together information from a database to make a dashboard. Most people use Tableau, but I know how to use Looker Studio, so I stick with the thing that I know. That's all essentially. And so Hungerman says, in real life, the WIFA signing solved the defensive midfielder spot. I was going to say WIFA is still adjusting to EPL. It has been a concern, but it does look like he might be the player to do it. Jake Wesley, this screen just introduces so many questions that my head is overloading. That's fine. It's just a way of filtering a table of information. We have a number of filters because it's a third-party piece of software that makes it really difficult to set it up in the table itself. But all you essentially need to know is we've moved header win rate up to 70%, tackle win rate up to 70%, progressive passes in the 75th percentile or above, under 30 million euros, under 100,000 euros per week. And we've got 12 possible players to look at. One of them is Matthias Ginter. And we can see down here, we've essentially got the pizza chart, but in radar form. And he is a player whose progressive passes aren't necessarily that great. He's only just in the 75th percentile. But he does have a high progressive passes compared to the number of passes completed. He's safe on the ball. He wins the ball, which is great. He's got a pretty decent amount of expected assists. So that's a player that could potentially be an option. And we will pop back here. So Ginter. Now I'm pretty certain that Matthias Ginter is a very injury-prone player from what I remember. 30 years old, 26 million, probably not going to be the option there, really. DPR2402, by the way, thank you very much for the follow. I hope you're well. Do let me know if you're comfortable chatting. Let us know who you support, who you're playing with in FM. But obviously no obligation whatsoever. Selwyn over on YouTube says, create Pep Guardiola 4-3-3 tactics. Cool. I probably won't be Selwyn. I like to be very realistic with expectations. There are so many wonderful creators out there for FM that have already covered Pep Guardiola many times. I don't know if there's necessarily anything new I could bring to the table. And I'm a firm believer that if I'm not able to bring something new, it's just what's the politest way of putting it? It's just adding more crap to YouTube unnecessarily. So question 1, is the data from one or more simulations done earlier? This is the Moneyball Clinic database, Fez. So this is from the 10 simulations I did earlier this year in full detail of the top 30 leagues. Dan, by the way, thank you very much for the follow. Same to you. If you heard my question to DPR, do let me know who you support. If you're comfortable chatting, let me know who you support, who you're playing with on FM currently. It'd be lovely to hear from you. So Samuel Gigo here, Gigo, again, kind of similar in those regards. 29, 22 million is perhaps a little bit on the steep side as well, given his age. Mukhtar Diakabi, however, that might be a more appropriate signing for that level. The Liga is a very, very good league. We're seeing that his progressive passes compared to his passes completed is a little bit lower, so we are seeing a bit more of a Lewis Dunk style profile there, but we are seeing creativity. We're seeing those same things in terms of possession lost. He's safe on the ball. Possession won, he's winning the ball back as well. And it's very, very small here, I do appreciate. It's a header win rate of 74%. Tackle win rate of 77% would be better than any of our other defenders. So that'd be quite good. Mukhtar Diakabi is probably the best option we've seen so far. Potentially for about 18.5 million euros, so about 15 million pounds as well, which isn't too bad. So we can certainly put him, it's up at 22 million at the end of the first season. But we will go back to the very first save we looked at the beginning of the game. Just bear in one moment, I'm going to need to mute the mic. So, right, is this available for everyone? It looks insanely good. It would save people so much time. Well, it is and it isn't. So this is the thing I've put, and there are notes on Patreon. It is not available publicly. It is available through the Patreon. I've seen that RJ has done the link. Thank you very much, RJ. Now, this is useful and it isn't useful. Once you're 6 months into your own save, it is no longer useful. Your save and the world that you are in FM is always going to trump anything from aggregated data because it's dealing with what's actually happening in your world. This is merely just a aggregated data set that helps to inform of some players that might be worth looking at. But yeah, 100% every single time your save is going to give you far more useful information. Ursel Osman asks, have you reduced non-essential parameters in my search? No, the non-essential parameters are all just completely open. So I don't have any reason to look for someone with a header win rate, anything other than the full range. Because we're anyway going to have a small number of results here. We're looking for players who are generally speaking at a much higher quality than you'd expect. And we can see this with the players that are coming through. We don't really need to filter anymore. We've got 12 options in the whole world. So Hungdaman, I'm waiting for a Musterman video on Lampard. Now that would be an interesting one. Is it possible to do a how bad can we do it? It'd be like AC Moneyball all over again. So DPR is a Real Madrid fan. And his last save is with Roma, which I'm currently playing. How's it going with Roma? They are bad in real life, unfortunately. Or a video on AS Roma, says Hungdaman. Fair. So Diakabi and Bardet going to be good. Yeah, Loic Bardet. Well, I must say, so we had Loic Bardet. We did a save with Sevilla for a full Moneyball Clinic episode. Bardet was kind of he was good enough. He was okay. 23 years old. Obviously, he's going to be an interesting prospect. 18.5 million. You know, it's perhaps on the steep side. So if we compare him to Diakabi, which we can't do like a side by side comparison. We can only do this here, which isn't, I don't get to choose the colours. It's a little bit messy there, but Bardet's got a better header win rate, 76% to 74%. And on the tackle win rate side, Diakabi's only a little bit ahead of Bardet there, which is really, really cool. So on that sense, Bardet is possibly the better option there. We can see in terms of progressive passes that Bardet wins out again there as well. But in terms of, oh no, I've read this the wrong way around. He has more progressive passes and fewer passes completed. Bardet is definitely the option here. Definitely the option out of those two. So I will add him to the shortlist. Let's do that. Let's not keep on trying to switch between. We do need to see Nico Elvedi here as well. Now Elvedi is a little bit what was the word? Injury prone. It's the same issue as Matthias Ginter. Injury prone, and he has adaptability issues, so we do have to be mindful there. Now, I do have the next ad break coming up, so it's going to be like 2-3 minutes again. But this time I am going to go for it because the voice is going. So what we'll do is we'll pop on a break. I will be away for literally about 2 or 3 minutes, and we'll see you back when we'll play another round of Guess the Player. So see you guys shortly. And we're back. Fabulous. So it's another round, Guess the Player, as it has been redeemed by Adam, the wonderful, wonderful Adam, wanting to get more points. I think, where are you? You're third currently in the all-time list. So, yeah, a good chance with Leicester asleep and Crodmo in Ireland to jump up to top spot today. Right, for those that, if you haven't been in the streams before, just a quick explainer for what's going to happen there. It's pretty much as it says on the screen, but you're going to see 4 picture clues. It's going to be a snapshot from profile of a player in FM24 using the default skin. So you're going to see like the positions that they play and the attributes that they have and the scout report and the clubs that they played for. You're going to see them one after another. Your job is just to guess who the player is. The earlier you guess, the more points you get. The more points you get, you end up on that lovely little leaderboard down there. So let's head on in there. Let's get the lovely widget up and move over to the very first clue. You will find that the very first clue doesn't really give you much information to go with. We have a 3.5 star ball playing defender who is right footed but not too bad with their left foot either. And that's all you've got to go on to start off with. And Cockroach Smash has immediately said, is it Wilson Odebear? That would have been an amazing guess had you been right there. Sadly, it's not. John Stones and Sebastian Quatters have come in as some early guesses and they're not. And now Nathan over on YouTube, a little bit before we went on the break, asked, what am I drinking? Am I on the ale? No, it was Fanta Orange, and now we're on a little bit of Coke Zero as well. It's to hand. I shouldn't really drink fizz, but there we go. We're doing it anyway. More guesses now coming in. So we've got Andy Pelmard. Interesting guess there. Andy Pelmard's a name I haven't thought about for a while. Usually quite a bargain in FM as well. Well, he was for the previous ones. John Stones has accomplished at DM, so it's not him. Some good knowledge there. Makoto Hasabi, says Cockroach Smash. Diamande, Minjay, Harry Maguire, Lukeba, Diamande again, Anel Ahmedozicic. That's easy for me to say, or not. Daniel Ballard. There's a fine guess. Here's none of those. Let's see if we can refine it a little bit more by looking at his attributes and his traits. So we do see a little bit here. This is a player who's got very good jumping reach. 6'4", 17 jumping reach, but also an exceptional passer. He likes to try long-range passes. He likes to switch the ball to wide areas. He's good with both feet, and he's got 16 passing as well. This is quite a player. So the guess is now coming in. We have Lewis Dunk. We've got Mats Hummels. We've got Virgil van Dijk. We've got Harry Maguire again. We've got Matches de Ligt. So none of you are quite right on there, but welcome in, Cultured Left Foot. I hope you're doing well this fine. Well, it's. I was going to say fine morning. It's obviously not morning for you. It's not morning for us anymore either. Oh shit! It's 12:30. Oh, it's the afternoon now. I can swear. I think those are the rules. So they're fine guesses, but no one has got it right yet, unfortunately. So it wasn't Mats Hummels. It wasn't Van Dijk, but we have more guesses coming in. Is it Luperto? Is it Gahey? Is it Botman? Not any of those, unfortunately. It's not Stefan de Vrij. It's not Joel Hato. Joel Hato obviously is a player who can play at left back quite well. Milan Skriniar, Matip, Josip Šutalo, Fabian Schär, Bastoni. We're not quite there. Let's refine this a little bit further. So we've got a league now. We have a league. They're right-footed, but they're good with their left foot as well. So they are probably as close to a 2-footed centre back as you're really going to get, especially at this level. Quite incredible. Flux is in. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Flux, depending on where you are currently. We are guessing the player. We're seeing clues from a player's profile, and everyone is trying to guess who it might be. We've had a couple of the clues already, so it's going to be a little bit tricky for you. I appreciate coming in at the moment. So the guess is now that we know that it's a Premier League player, we've got the guesses coming in, and they've gone for Canate. We've got for Danilo. We've got Canate again. Diaz says out Farby. Maguire from Dean Botha, Murillo, Euro. Now RJ, I have some words to have with you here. How dare you mention his name? How dare you? That name is not mentioned in this household, not after yesterday. No, it's not Milenkovic either. Akanji, Maguire again being guest. Everyone loves Maguire today, it appears. Konsa, Kanate, Tarkovsky, Stones, Kanate, Vestergaard, Shah, Badiashile. I'm afraid to say no one is there yet. No one is... Now, actually, I have to take a little bit of umbrage at this, because how on earth do you come in midway through a game? You've not even seen half the clues, and Flux just throws out Joachim Andersen. Like, you know, he knows exactly what's going on. You cheeky bugger. Fabulous guess. That is genuinely quite amazing stuff. Just waltzes in, 3 clues already done. Joachim Andersen. What a wonderful piece of work. That is a fabulous 2 points to Flux H. Well done, sir. Well done. And so we do have a couple of others did manage to pick up those guesses a little bit later on. We had Hung Dem In, we had Jords, both guessed Joachim Andersen. Unfortunately, just pipped to the post there. We had some wonderful guesses, like Fofana's a great player in there, Gabriel, we have Vestergaard as a shout. I mean, we were... When Mark Gahey was mentioned a little bit earlier, I thought we were very, very close. So Flux has played with him a lot. I assume you mean in game. This isn't you confessing some kind of unrequited relationship with Joachim Andersen, perhaps. He is doing well. I'm so shocked that he. I'm shocked that it was Andersen that was the one that was sold and not Gahey. But yeah, he's a great player, and he seems to be doing well at Fulham. And it's kind of good that kind of quite fun that we finally got a Crystal Palace player, and it's bedtime for Leicester, and he's missed Oakiness again. That would be quite fun. So let's once again explain the rules for those that didn't catch this earlier. Only Connect is a game based around a British game show. It's like a late afternoon, early evening game show. You're going to see 4 pictures of football players, one after the other. They all have a common connection. Now, when you see the first picture, you're not necessarily going to be able to guess particularly well, because there's a million possible things that they might be known for. But as you see more pictures, you start to get more of a clue. And it's the same rule again. The earlier you guess, the more points you get. The points, they just mean you end up on that little scoreboard there for those like Flux. That's what we're playing for. We're playing for pride. So let's head on into the first clue and see if anyone can work it out from the first one. First question, of course, is can people recognise who this is? It's a bit of an obscure one to start. I know that I've been told off for having too many old references, and I'm not sure if anyone will know who this is. RJ, in the next video, as you can hear, my voice isn't great at the moment. Did you, if you saw the Dortmund Part 2, my word, I had to record that across like 3 or 4 days because it kept on going whilst I was trying to record. So we've got the real Ronaldo. RJ has correctly recognised that it is the real Ronaldo, as has Rennies. The GOAT says you and go. Koku Smelsh has guessed that it's the players with the best haircuts. You're going for the lovely little, the classic Ronaldo. What a wonderful haircut that was. Red Dapper said they all had great haircuts as well. Hung Dem In has gone for weird haircuts. Caffeine says, if you don't know who this is, why are you even here? Indeed. So Hung Dem In has mentioned iconic haircut. I preferred weird haircuts. I think that worked quite well. So it isn't to do with haircuts. We have Tales of the Tapes over on YouTube has guessed that it's World Cup Golden Boot. That is a very, very good guess. It's not right, unfortunately. Cockings Melsh has gone for all ended their career before 30 because of injuries. That's a callback to a previous connection we had. So that kind of gives those of you guys that are new to this a bit of an idea of what kind of connections we might have there. It's not that this time round, but that is a good thing. Indeed, and Night of Knee is coming, indeed said, he's not just called him the real Ronaldo, he's gone for the proper name. It is indeed, of course, Ronaldo Nazario. So Bam Bam is going to take a punt, and he's gone for played for PSV and Barcelona. That is a good factor. There's probably are a good number of players that have done so as well, and so unfortunately it's not that. Who and Go has gone for scored in World Cup finals. Hung Dem In has gone for all have problems with their teeth. Look, I'm in no place to cast aspersions about people's dental care. So players have both played for Real and Barca. That's a good guess as well. It's not that, I'm afraid. They got standing ovations from a Korean dictator. Now that would be quite fun. We've got all scored hat-tricks against United, all got knee surgeries. They're all some very, very fine guesses. But let's move on to a little bit. Let's try and fill out that image there. So Flux says, "Oh, I get it now. 4 points will be slightly simpler clue, but still connected to the clue." So for 4 points, if you guess it on the first person with so little information, you get 4 points. That's the most you can get. So 5 points even. 3 points. Because you've now got 2 bits of information, it's a bit easier to start to maybe work out what that connection is. So, Koku Smelsh has said that is it Del Piero. I can tell you it's not Del Piero. Diogo has said they all became president of football clubs when they retired. That is a fine guess. So, Tell the Tapes are saying that it is in fact Ronaldo Luis Nazario de Lima, to be exact. I stand corrected. Johnny Trotter is certain that hair is the theme. It's not, I'm afraid. So they've all played for Internazionale. It's an interesting guess. It's not that, I'm afraid. Isn't that Conte, says Flux? It is indeed Conte. And Rennes has gone it as well. It is the legend that is Antonio Conte. So DC10 has guessed that they're all Serie A winners. They're not, but that is a very, very good guess. They've all been top scorers in Serie A. Says Crablungs, it's not that either, I'm afraid. They all played at Internazionale. It's not that, I'm afraid, Jim. Bam Bam has had a penalty saved by Sebastian Fry. Now that would be an interesting one. That would be an interesting one. It's not. I now want to look that up though. I want to see how many players, how many recognisable players have had a penalty saved by Sebastian Fry. That would be an astonishing connection. Tales of the Tapes, better hair than their playing days. Again, I'm not here to cast any aspersions about people's hairdos. Cockroach Smile says, if it's that well played, it would have been nice, wouldn't it? All captains of a national team, it isn't that, I'm afraid. It is Conte. It is, yes. Italian Cup winners then? No, sadly not. And I think this person hasn't. I'm not sure. Actually, this person might have played in Italy. Let me have a look. I only know like certain teams that they played for. So this player did play in Italy for a year. Did he win anything in that year? He never won anything during that year. So we can now officially rule out anything to do with Italian domestic success. Both on the bench at the 1994 World Cup final. That is some fabulous knowledge as well, Crablungs. So DC10 asks, is that Dugarry? As does Adam on the Ball FM, on the Break FM even. If it's not Mark Viduka, I don't know him, says Cockroach Smelsh. Sadly, it's not Mark Viduka. They are indeed correct. It is Christophe Dugarry. Christophe Dugarry. What a fabulous name. So Jason Thomas thought it might have been Juanes Schneider, the Uruguayan. Unfortunately, it's not. So Crablungs thinks the connection is something to do with the 1998 World Cup. I can tell you 100% that it's not. The last clue will exclude the 1998 World Cup from contention altogether. And yes, indeed, good afternoon, Jason. I hope you're doing well. So couldn't name you a single Birmingham City forward, says Cockroach Smelsh. That's understandable. I mean, who'd want to know a single Birmingham City forward? That ultimately, apart from Jay Stansfield, the world record signing for a league, well, the League One world record. We're going with that. Whatever. All men go bald when they get older, says Hung Du Min. I defy that. Actually, I've got it tied back, so it looks like it's going bald. And let's ignore that it's thinning. Right. So let's hide the thinning hairline once more. So 1998, 2002 top scorers goes for Cockroach Smelsh. Vangelis says that the last World Cup was in 2002. So some good guesses. Unfortunately, we're not quite there. So Christophe Dugarry is the third, says Liam Wynn. Indeed. Jason is doing well. Good to hear. Conte got hair as he grew older, lol. Fair point. Jack is confident that Dortmund is winning today. I hope so. Hair surgery is good in Italy, says RJ. Is this something you've had to try out, RJ? Understandable. Let's see if the final clue helps tie things together. I think we should be able to recognise this man, and whoever guessed teeth earlier, you're probably thinking that it must be something to do with teeth now. It isn't. I promise you it's got nothing to do with teeth. So did they win the Intertoto Cup with Italian team, says Johnny Trotter. Sadly not. So Christophe Dugarry, we did establish earlier, he's played for one Italian team for 1 year, and he won nothing during that single year in Italy. So there is no connection to... the connection isn't to do with anything Italian, essentially. We just have an Italian player in there. Kokus Melchus said, is it something to do with Fiorentina? Obviously, unfortunately, yeah, what I've just said. Have they all won the Intertoto, it seems? That's good to know. That is good to know. That isn't the clue we're looking for, though, unfortunately. NXTG5, by the way, welcome in. Thank you very much for the follow. I hope you're doing well. Have they all scored in UEFA Cup finals, says Liam Wynn. That's a fine guess. It's not. It's not, I'm afraid. Al Farby has come in and asked, have they played with Zidane? I wonder. Have they? They are indeed all former teammates of Zizou. At Real Madrid, with Ronaldo from 2002 to 2006. Spent 5 years with Antonio Conte at Juventus from 96 to 2001. 4 years with Christophe Dugarry at Bordeaux from 92 to 96. And was in the France team for World Cup 2006. Franck Ribéry didn't make it didn't start playing for France until 2006. It's fantastic work. A well-deserved point going to Al Farby. GG indeed. GG indeed. Right. Let's where were we? Let's pop to a thing. We'll pop to this thing here. I will then remember to change the transition so we can cut between things. Loic Bardet has made our shortlist, which is great. We were looking at Brighton. We've identified a few areas that will need to be addressed. So the areas that need to be addressed is the left-sided defender, a ball-playing defender. They don't necessarily have to be on the left-hand side. Just we need a ball-playing defender, someone who can help with ball progression from deep areas. We need a defence midfielder, someone who can help protect that defence and allow these guys the right to roam forwards. And we need a striker, someone that can just score goals, please. So, grr, says Johnny Trotter, only Ronaldo didn't win the Intertoto among them. There we go. There we go. That would have been nice. Where were we? Ribéry has the biggest brain in French football. Fair. Oh, right, we were doing a Moneyball. We were indeed. So, Jason Tom says, Dugarry did play in the 98 World Cup winning France squad. Well, yes, that's true. There was that connection indeed. I probably should have included that one. I did think, though, mainly the Bordeaux connection, just because, it's people we don't really associate Zidane with Bordeaux. That's essentially why I went with the Bordeaux connection over the France one. But yeah, Dugarry and Zidane were in the France squad together. Right. So Bam Bam says preferred tea over alcohol as a guess. Now that's a much more fun guess. I like that as a suggestion. Right. So NXT G5, welcome in, by the way. You did catch us right at the end of the mini game. So we do have. I see you've done the games. We do have the mini games that can be redeemed. We have unfortunately used up all of them for the stream now. Unfortunately, bad timing in that respect, but we do these every single stream. We have a couple of these prepared, couple of Only Connects, couple of Guess the Players. So it's a nice little way just to break up the flow of the day. Who and Go asks, who do you think is the best ever footballer? I said this at the beginning of the stream, in fact, actually. So the best ever footballer is a wonderful lad who was born in Birmingham. He spent the early part of his playing career at Port Vale and then Sheffield Wednesday. He was at Sheffield Wednesday for just 6 months before an opportunity for him to join his boyhood club, the club he supported since he was a youngster. That is, of course, the great, the wonderful, the one and only Ian Taylor. Who's Ian Taylor, you might be asking? Well, I've told you. He's the best ever footballer. He could do it all. He could track back and tackle. He could burst forwards with great runs. He could score goals. He had a forehead the size of Gibraltar. The forehead was just massive. He would head everything in. Now, I might be biased because he was an Aston Villa player at that time when I was really, really getting into football. And, that might be a fair accusation. But also, I'm right. Just as simple as that. I'm right. Ian Taylor is the greatest footballer of all time. No debate. That's not the serious answer you were looking for. So I do apologise. I generally think that it's difficult to actually answer such a question. Players offer so much, and there are so many great players that offer lots of different things that aren't necessarily comparable across positions. Like I loved watching Matthias Sammer play. I just thought he was so graceful. I've really, really enjoyed watching Leo Messi play. The way that he just weaves through players, and he has such great control with his low center of gravity. But he doesn't need to show off. It's all it's quality, but it's not flashy. It's not conceited. So Ian Kenneth Taylor asks Vangelis. Yes, the one, the greatest. Tales of the Tape says Zidane was born in Marseille and his signature move was the Marseille roulette. However, he never played for Marseille. That's true. So Flux asks, what team do I support? I support Aston Villa. For all my sins. For all my sins. And the less said about them, the better, because yesterday's result was rubbish. Right, okay. Where were we? Let's get on. We've identified a couple of centre-backs. I'm going to run out of time. I was going to end at 1 o'clock today so that I can grab some lunch before the football starts and then start recording videos. We're not going to even finish. We're not even going to get through one club today. Oh dear, that's a little bit tragic on my behalf, haven't you? Isn't it? I do apologise. That's where the overestimating how long it takes. I mean, I did about 4 of these off stream, which shows my ability at multitasking. Let's head on back over to the browser. So we spied a couple of players. We looked at Bardet, we've looked at Diakabe. I think Thiago Jallo is a pretty decent guess here as well. Guess? Guess isn't the right word. Let's see if and now the thing's being slow. So we can see Thiago Jallo is wonderful from a progression point of view. Awful at possession loss, so we wouldn't want to consider him. That's already a concern with the team that we looked at, so we pass up on that. Doria plays at Santos Laguna, and you're going to have to say that you're probably not feeling confident that the step up from Mexican football to the Premier League is going to be an easy one to make, and he's very one-footed, so we wouldn't necessarily want to consider Doria. We've already mentioned that Ginter's injury prone and far too expensive for his age. Mukwele is injury prone as well. We can see as well here, he's a player that splits time between right back and centre back, and subsequently he loses the ball a lot, so that's not really a consideration. So Kokuk Smelsh would never have guessed that after the love for Ian Taylor. That's fair. That's fair. Who would have been able to put the link between Ian Taylor and being a Villa fan together? So Flux says Olof Mellberg, a Villa legend. He is indeed. Like our defence of that era, Olof Mellberg and Martin Laursen are incredible. So Rennis asks, what's for dinner though? That is the most important question. Well, so for lunch, we're probably going to just do cheese and crackers, because I do like to indulge over the weekend and have as much dairy as I possibly can. Then we'll have that as like, it's not really a lunch, it's like 11's is. Then we'll watch the football. Then I'll probably have some more cheese and crackers before the second game. And then I'll have a bigger lunch dinner before the NFL. So DC10 says, I genuinely feel lucky to have lived at the same time to watch Messi. Spent the best part of 15 years watching 30 to 40 games of his per season. Living legend and undoubtedly the best I've ever seen. Like, he is such a joy to watch. Vangelis, now, how on earth can you say food is overrated? You should surely be shunned out of Greece for saying such a thing. That is an astonishing claim. So Reza says, Mellberg spent some time in my Greek club. He was an amazing defender and person. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm now, because of my Pauk links, obviously I'm a little bit saddened by his choice of club. But other than that, not too bad. Hunty mentions Meth Gunter. Matthias Gunter. Meth Gunter, indeed. Yeah, he's a pretty good coach down Sweden. Was offered the national team, but declined. How is his coaching career going? I mean, I've heard some good things, but so I heard good things like 2 or 3 years ago, and then nothing much since. Apparently he joined an MLS side, Mellberg, that is. Is that the case? Yes, it is. Good knowledge. So Tales of the Tapes, was that FM13 legend Doria? It may well be. Let's have a look. How old was? Yeah, I mean that's. Well, what? So FM13, he would have been 17. So yes, it must be. It must be. It must be indeed. And the other option is another former FM legend in Coletta Carr. How about that? Cheese sandwiches, says Chris Norton Walker. Chris Norton Walker is someone I know very well personally, a good friend of mine. He knows that I do like a cheese sandwich. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So Jake Kvez says Mexican football is better than Eredivisie. I wouldn't underestimate that. So Mexican First Division football is quite ranked highly. I think it's around the 8th rated league in the world. Now, obviously, there's been a big shift this year. So Eredivisie was literally just behind France in the various metrics they were using to measure this. And last year they've absolutely tanked. So the difference between the Eredivisie and Mexican football in FM25 I would expect to be a lot lower. But go back a year and that gap was probably a little bit wider than it is nowadays. So Coletta Carr here would be a reasonable option, especially if he's that cheap at 3.6 million. So let's just have a look now. We're going to. Yeah, it does seem like he is going to be very, very cheap. Let's pop back over to stream main. And if we go back and we load up this one where we're at the start of the season, we have a transfer budget. We can kind of. I didn't actually save the shortlist. I'll remember the players. It's only 3 of them. But that was a little bit stupid of me. We'll pop in. We'll take over Brighton once more. England Premier League. Brighton. Quick click through. So we've got massive transfer budget. And realistically, if you've got the options of Coletta Carr, who's already got a transfer arranged to Lyon. So Coletta Carr is not an option, which means we have Bardet and Mukhtar Diakhabe. The U button isn't working. So realistically, both are around the same price there. We're keen. We'd be looking at 55k to 70k for Diakhabe. We'd be looking at no interest from Loic Bardet because he's just moved to Sevilla. So it's been a bit of a weird stream because we only got one club done and we didn't even get to go through all the options. But we have one signing. So my recommendation for Brighton in defence would be Mukhtar Diakhabe. Now he is right-footed. We don't have that left foot balance. We saw a player there that was really good in terms of progressive passes, in terms of his tackle win rate, in terms of his header win rate. He was actually a little bit behind Bardet in those metrics, just gradually. But obviously Bardet only just joined Sevilla, so he wouldn't be particularly interested. And at 13 million, I think we'll probably find. Sorry, I should have gone back there. Valencia's strong financial position means they do not feel pressured to sell him. So that means we're probably going to find it's going to be much closer to the higher end of the valuation. You can generally tell whereabouts in the valuation they sit by what the agent says. At 26, we shouldn't be asked for any of these. So there we go. We can see that when they negotiate, they already went above that area. If we say 15, they'll say they want more money. I'm guessing 15.5 will do it. No, 15.75? 15.75. So just a note there that they asked us for an extra, at 15.5 million, they asked us for an extra 3 million. And we said, how about an extra 250,000? And they said, yes, that's great. Oh, you got to love negotiating sometimes. So, what have we got that? He did really well at, I definitely won't be able to pronounce Broma Porikiana. So I do apologise for that effort there. Chris Norton says, what time are the Browns on today? We've got to be a 6 o'clocker. We're playing the Chiefs. It's going to be painful. I'm going to be in bed crying by 7 p.m. So this feels just like every Moneyball recruiting in the Bundesliga. Just sign any French player available. That is fair. That is definitely fair. This guy is a beast, says Flux. Indeed. Not bad, yeah. So 15.75 million isn't cheap by any stretch of the mean, obviously. But when you're talking about a player to come in and be who's shown that he should be a top quality centre back in the Premier League, that is very, very decent. And that would still leave from a 70 million pound budget, that still leaves you with 55 million for the other two positions. Unfortunately, though, it also means that I'm going to have to leave you with those other two positions not filled. Because we are going to end the stream pretty much here. So let's answer a couple of questions. Let's just do a little bit of a hello from this point of view here. We'll say massive thank you to everyone. This is going to be the beginning of a part of a series that we're going to be doing on YouTube, where we do much shorter versions of the Moneyball Clinic. We're talking about 5-minute episodes where we don't go through and simulate the games. All we're going to do is we're going to look at, in a very abridged fashion, the strengths and weaknesses of the teams, what that means for tactical setup, and what the transfer needs are. So kind of like a guide, a short 5-minute guide to every team in certain leagues. Now, obviously, I that still takes time, so I'm not going to be able to get out like a whole league in a week. But hopefully between now and when FM24 is released, that does mean like a couple of videos a week, 5 minutes each here. We will cover the Premier League, and then we'll move on to another league, and then we'll move on to another league. And every now and then we'll have these bonus streams on like a Saturday or Sunday morning, where we can do it together, depending on which league we're up to at that point. And maybe we can even get through a whole team. I really thought we'd get through about 3 or 4 today. I did those first 4 teams: Arsenal, Villa, Brighton, Brentford. Okay, granted, I started at around 9, just before 9 this morning with that. But yeah, I'm not very good at this multitasking thing. But I want to say a huge, massive, incredible thank you to everyone who's popped in this evening. I mean, we started with a follow from Rennies literally 3 hours ago. I mean, crazy. Then Bell turned up, then Senkelman came in, and then Great Nobo and Charlie MCFC popped in with their resubs. What absolute gentlemen they are. El Giorgio came in, Dirk or Drown, Armchair Outlaw, Fabian de G, Alex Luco, Pov One Mar, Lukmar No Pants came in, followed, then gave out 5 community gift subs, including one to the fabulous Caffeine FC, and he's going to be streaming a little bit later today. So because he's already apologised in advance for the Chiefs beating the Browns, you've definitely got to make sure you keep an eye for when he hits that go live, and go and watch Caffeine FC this afternoon. We also had Shawnee in, we had DPR, we had Dan P1, NXT, G5 and Hunty all came in with the follows. Been absolutely incredible. There are an obscene amount of people in today over here and on YouTube as well. Unfortunately, YouTube doesn't tell me who subscribes or who likes the video, but everyone who has liked and subscribed, a massive thank you from the bottom of my heart. For those of you that haven't liked and subscribed, do it now so you get a massive thank you or something like that. Is that what I'm meant to be doing? I don't really understand this stuff. So, Renner says FM25 is a lie. It may well be changed. So, Evangelist asks, am I still a believer that FM25 really comes out? I am 100% a believer. 100%. And I don't mind if I have egg on my face afterwards. So next stream, we look for the second transfer for Brighton. Indeed. Well, that's the problem. Is actually by the next stream, I should have hopefully have done the work that I've done all the Premier League by then, and we'll probably look at look at one team in like League and we'll only look at get as far as analysing the players. Who knows? So thank you very much. I am going to do what we always do. Is we're going to end the stream on YouTube first. So massive thank you. Lovely to see you guys, and we'll be back tomorrow evening with Mario Ham. That's 7 p.m. I was going